In 2017, a group of urban explorers ventured into an abandoned hospital on the outskirts of Bucharest, Romania. The hospital, built in the early 1900s, had been closed for decades after a fire gutted parts of the building. Locals whispered of strange happenings there, shadows that moved on their own, whispers in the dark, and a lingering sense of unease. The hospital was eerily quiet, its walls crumbling and covered in graffiti. Broken windows let the moonlight stream into the hallways, casting eerie shadows. The group of four, Anna, Radu, Elena, and Bogdan, armed themselves with flashlights and cameras, eager to capture the rumored hauntings. As they explored the main corridor, Anna noticed a flickering light in one of the rooms. "Did you see that?" she whispered. The others brushed it off, saying it was probably their flashlights reflecting off broken glass. But Anna felt uneasy. They entered the surgical wing, where rusted equipment still lay scattered. On an operating table, a dusty scalpel gleamed as though freshly polished. "This feels too real," Radu joked, but his laughter echoed uncomfortably in the empty space. Elena, the skeptic of the group, wandered into a room by herself. She was examining an old X-ray viewer when the others heard her scream. They rushed to find her standing frozen, staring at the wall. Scrawled in fresh red letters were the words, "Get out." "No way, someone just did this," Elena stammered. The paint glistened as if it were still wet, but there was no smell of paint in the air. Determined to prove it was a prank, Bogdan led the group deeper into the hospital. They reached the morgue, where metal drawers for bodies lined the walls. As they inspected the room, Anna froze, pointing toward the far corner. A tall, dark shadow stood there, motionless. Bogdan shone his flashlight on the figure, but the light passed through it. It was not a person. It began to move, slowly at first, then with an unnatural speed, rushing toward them. The group screamed and ran, hearing the sound of metal drawers slamming shut behind them. Out of breath, they stopped in what seemed to be a children's ward. Small beds were still arranged neatly, as if waiting for their occupants to return. Then they heard it, a soft giggle. "Did you hear that?" Anna whispered, clutching Radu's arm. A small ball rolled across the floor, coming to a stop at their feet. The giggle turned into a cry, low, mournful, and filled with pain. Terrified, they decided to leave. As they retraced their steps, the building seemed to shift around them. Hallways stretched endlessly, and familiar rooms appeared out of the air grew colder, and a feeling of being watched pressed heavily on them. When they finally reached the main entrance, the door was sealed shut. Panic set in as they tried to force it open. Behind them, the faint sound of footsteps grew louder, as if someone, or something, was running toward them. With one final shove, the door burst open, and they tumbled outside. Turning back, they saw the shadowy figure standing in the doorway, watching them. The door slammed shut on its own, and the building fell silent again. Days later, Radu developed a high fever and spoke of seeing the shadow in his room at night. Elena refused to leave her house, claiming she could still hear the child's cries. Anna and Bogdan tried to move on, but both reported recurring nightmares about the hospital. When they shared their story with locals, an elderly man told them about the fire that had killed many patients in the hospital, including a group of children in the ward they had entered. "Some things are better left undisturbed," he warned. The hospital was demolished in 2019, but to this day, locals claim to see shadows near the site and hear the faint sound of children laughing in the wind. This chilling tale is a reminder that some places carry the weight of their past, and not all of it rests peacefully.